thing about a lot of trees often is that they grow crooked and gnarly and whatever, but this one literally looked like a designer tree.
Hello, my name is Sebastian. I'm 19 and I currently volunteer at the National Trust and Wildlife Trust.
I'm Omar. I'm 25. I did environmental science at uni. I occasionally volunteer with the London National Park City campaign.
Hi, I'm Martina. I'm 19 and I'm currently a London Wildlife Trust trainee for urban conservation.
That's cool. That's cool. We're briefly talking about the effects of changes that nature is currently facing at the moment, such as deforestation and urbanization. To start things off, we like to talk about personal experiences. For me personally, deforestation was a big issue where I was brought up and born in Indonesia. When I was growing up, deforestation was everywhere and it wasn't something that you could avoid due to a lack of education. But primarily, urbanization was also an issue because it could also help the economy because they have a big logging and farming industry. So export was a big issue as well to have more income. So Omar, what are the effects of deforestation in your current place that you live?
So if we're talking on a personal level, my next door neighbor recently cut down a tree growing in front of their house that didn't actually, it wasn't growing on their land. It just happened to be in front of their house. And I got to ID it as a white beam. I couldn't tell if it was a silver-leafed white beam or a Himalayan white beam. But what I did notice on it was it had a metal tag with a number on it. And I'm pretty sure that means that the council has got it in some sort of directory, meaning that it's an important tree. Probably in the local area, it's not that common. And also, it was a beautiful tree. It was beautifully straight. It was one of the nicest trees in our drive. And they literally just chopped it down because I don't even know. Their excuse was that it had a lot of flies around it. I'd never seen a fly around it at all. But it was a big shame because it was such a beautiful tree. The birds loved it. And it was something that all the neighbours loved as well. And they sort of went ahead and chopped it down without asking for anyone's input or permission, I suppose.
How do you feel about that? Because you probably feel sad, don't you?
Yeah, it was actually really sad. We were all really sad. Firstly, it's rare to get trees that grow so straight. The beautiful thing about a lot of trees often is that they grow crooked and gnarly and whatever, but this one literally looked like a designer tree. Yeah, it really was like a perfect tree. I don't know if either of you have stuff like that around your area where you get like connected to your local nature.
Yes, there was a similar situation in front of my house as well. We had like I don't know exactly what tree it was, but it had berries on there, and there would be like people walking past and like eating them in the summer and things like that. And it was right in front of my house. And then one day I came home, I think I was out like shopping or something, and it was just gone. I didn't even know that they were planning on getting rid of it or anything. But yeah, that was quite, like, I didn't feel happy that it was gone.
Yeah, you feel like you're out of control because it was something part of nature.
Yeah, exactly.
Community, and that sense of community is gone, I think.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And it's also your sense of memory as well. When you have your memory of a place. And in fact, I was actually talking about this with Sebastian when we were walking to Finsbury Park train station today, how in London itself, the landscape changes so much whilst you are existing in it, that the things you associate with you or your family or your friends, whatever, it just disappears before you used to see it happen, after an entire generation of people or several generations. That's when you would see a local area change, but now you see it change several times within your own lifetime, and it's hard to become attached to an area because that attachment gets broken again and again.
Continuously changing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I guess that links with you when you were talking about in Indonesia and the deforestation that you saw happening around you. When I went to Malaysia, we were looking at the deforestation that happened there in terms of palm oil plantations, and it was crazy how we're seeing it from above, and when you're in the plane, seeing how the landscape is so dramatically transformed, but also down on the ground, seeing like villages and people with like who have less power, I suppose, to oppose these things, seeing their areas which is connected to their heritage and stuff change massively.
And I suppose that makes you question as well, how does this lack of connection to nature, or the way that these kind of breakdowns of nature, like for example deforestation, how does it affect your mental connection to nature, and perhaps even further your general mental wellness? Because it's commonly known that nature is hugely impactful on someone's mental health.
Yeah.
The more time spent outdoors is linked to better wellness. Yeah, I'm sure that's something that everybody can relate to. As human beings, it's a need of humans to spend time outdoors and spend time with nature. And I think if a lack of connection with nature is broken constantly, it can be quite detrimental to someone's mental well-being.
But do you think that technology has a connection with nature? Because you're talking about how nature can help health and well-being. I feel like if we take deforestation, for instance, if we chop down the trees, the trees are kind of like a natural remedy, kind of like a natural medicine.
Yeah.
Being in a mental state.
Yeah.
And we kind of substitute that with medicine, and that's costly.
Mm.
And we're not really focusing on how we can save the planet, but how, if you know what I mean, we're stopping the progress. So
well, we haven't just substituted nature with medicine, but also with technology. Like technology has become almost like a milk bottle or a dummy for us to like turn to, because it's a way of not having to experience emotions, I suppose, like sad, traumatic things. Using technology is like a momentary escape from the realities of our world and the difficulties of it. But what it means is that it's like you're always running and you're never sort of confronting the issues that do exist. So whether it's nature in your direct local area, or in terms of globalization, the destruction of nature that happens for us to have all the products that we have. So I do think that is definitely like by not confronting it, it sort of exacerbates the issue and mental health problems as well.
Yeah.
So with all the points that we concluded and kind of added up, do you think there's a kind of an endpoint, or do you feel like there's a big solution that we could, combine together as a community? Because most of these things are community based. As a community, we could go against the government or corrupt government in like low economic countries. Do you feel like communities could have a big impact, like creating charities and stuff like that? What do you think?
So yeah, I think community effort can have a huge impact. For example, linking to what we were saying about nature's relationship with our mental health. If as a community we made more of an effort to ensure that we rebuilt and sustained the connection with nature, and perhaps were a bit more wary about our time spent on with technology and our addiction, as you could say, it would definitely be something to keep an eye on, and ensure it doesn't affect our mental health in negative ways, like it has increasingly been doing in recent times.
Yeah, just following on from that, in terms of like, Sebastian, you were talking about like community-based work in terms of challenging these things, and I do think it does come from the community. It doesn't come from an individual, because it's so hard for an individual to make a true impact. A true impact and true change. And it's exhausting for an individual to do it as well. It does need to come from the community, and having that community is almost like an antidote, because it's a real life human connection as opposed to the technological connections, and it's being outside, and it sort of connects you with the physical landscape around you as opposed to the virtual landscape that we occupy when we go on our phones. So yeah, I do think it definitely is a community thing, and it starts from like young, and it will take time, but I definitely do think that there is a chance that things could change for the better.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you said there's a chance of things getting better. I think that's a great start. I think, is there anything that you learned today that meant a lot to you? Or because of you sharing your experiences, did you like Omar's experience or Martina's experience, any of you two, about the trees or the plants?
It was nice having that talk, to see that other people do understand where you're coming from, so it doesn't seem like it's just you thinking about these things.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's good to hear different people's personal opinions and experiences with it. And I think one thing any of the listeners can take from this talk is maybe to just think about next time, maybe if you have a spare minute, how you're going to spend that time. You know, while it's very easy to just turn into that path of technology, you could even maybe alternatively go outside, do something different. And yeah,
meet with people outside and strategize and learn how you can do better, because just from this little talk, I feel like we've sort of been able to connect in a way after only knowing each other for like a week. It's allowed us to have like full-blown conversation about something kind of deep, and that is how you start connecting with other human beings. So if our listeners wanted to do something like that, they could.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Martina and Omar.
Thank you.
Please subscribe. Okay, bye-bye.
That was good. I like the please like and subscribe at the end of the